Okay, so as soon as I was assigned to a group, I wanted to start immediately on research, and I was assigned to a older grad student by the name of Katrina Roth. She was a decent mentor. She did her job. She showed me how all the stuff worked and whatnot. And by all the stuff work, I'm talking about the machinery in the laboratory itself and in the building. The building being Randus Hall. So, winter quarter 2013, I ended up taking 4 classes and TAing at the same time while trying to do research. And it was very hard, but what helped is the fact that I took 2 of the 4 classes as an undergraduate at the University of Illinois. So it's like I wasn't exactly drowning in work, but it wasn't like the first quarter. And things were going good until I come up to lab one day, and I realized my material that I made, it's a product of the sonegashira cross coupling between methyl benzoate and TMS-acetylene, and that product was gone, and it was replaced with either reagent alcohol or ethyl alcohol. Now, reagent alcohol is a mixture of ethyl alcohol, isopropanol, methanol. It's mostly ethyl alcohol, so it's kind of hard to tell the difference between ethyl and reagent alcohol. And I am really upset. So I send an email to my boss, and she sends an email back, and the way I interpreted the email was a complete dismissal of what actually happened to me. So the first thing that she focuses on is she says I should act professionally in lab, which I thought was complete bullshit, because it appears as though the people in the lab with me weren't acting professionally, because they were switching out my compounds with other things. And, I honestly didn't think I should be held to a certain standard while other people weren't. So after that, I was kind of just like, fuck it. And it just in a state of constant just fuck it all. Because as far as I'm concerned, they were really going to kick me out after the first year. Now, I wasn't going to fail my classes, and I was going to do my job while TAing, but with respect to research, I didn't quite care. I didn't exactly use the best lab technique when trying to complete my syntheses or whatever. And Blum noticed this. She noticed that after weeks of working towards a product, I basically came up with nothing. So she set up weekly meetings to help me progress and whatnot. But by that time, it was already too late. TAing was an experience that I honestly didn't have to have again after that first year. I mean, overall, it wasn't bad. Like, I thought it was going to be worse than it was, and that's only because during the first day, my Monday section, there was this Indian kid who, after I called everybody up to the front, said to another person, "I don't think he's all that smart." The girl that he was talking to said, "Why?" And he just said, "Because I just don't think he is." Now, I'm going to just be honest. If you're an Asian, not Asian American, but an Asian, somebody actually from Asia, whether you're yellow or brown, I kind of just assume you're going to be more overtly racist than, say, someone who's, born in America, right? And this is just based off experiences that I've had at the University of Illinois. So I'm thinking, Oh boy, this is not gonna be fun. But you know, it wasn't that bad. He came around. One thing that does cross my mind though is now, are these people assuming that I'm not smart because of the color of my skin or because of my appearance, or what is that exactly? See, I'm not entirely sure. Now, when I hear people say things that uh, things like the stuff that I heard Rohi say, the only thing they know about me is how I look. And my skin color is a part of that. But I'm not entirely sure if that is like the main factor as to why they believe what they believe at that point in time, you see. So that, yeah, that just utterly confuses me. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but if, yeah, this is something that I thought was interesting, that I thought was noteworthy, that I thought should be said, because I'm honestly quite curious about this. Like, are these people really racist, or is it because I don't like come to work every day or to school every day with like orange slacks and a button-up shirt with a tie, or is it actually because I wear a t-shirt and a pair of jeans to school every day? Like, I don't know what it is, to be completely honest with you. But, I'm moving on. TA wasn't bad. I mean, for the most part, up until the end. At the end, when the students had to do their practicals, that's when weird stuff started happening. So, and what I mean by weird stuff is the students in my Tuesday section participated in what I like to call suspicious behavior. So during their practical, they're not supposed to talk to anyone. It's supposed to be like a test. And I'm sitting in the front of the room watching people go to other people's hoods, which again should not be allowed while my back is turned to them. I can't watch everybody at once. But there's supposed to be like a little bit of an honor system, right? And I was getting really upset by the fact that they as a group were doing this. And I got pissed off to the point where I kind of took off deducted 50% from everyone's score because of a technicality. So at the beginning of the year, I stated that you're supposed to leave the laboratory area clean by the time you leave it, but they left it a mess. And they know if they left it a mess, there's going to be points off, like 50% off all their lab scores. So that's what I did. So people of my Tuesday section, y'all better be happy for Sean Miller. Like, thank that dude if you ever see him again later on in life, because he saved y'all grade. I was going to try to fail all of y'all. I was so upset. And after, okay, so here's the thing. During a practical, you say you have a maximum of either 20 students, I think. Let's say 20 students. So for the first 2 hours, 10 students come in and then they switch out. And, during the time when they were switching out, the students that were coming out were talking to the students that were coming in. And this is where, how I mentioned that the grad students were, rubbing me the wrong way because they were saying snarky comments that, I didn't belong here and yada, yada, yada. Well, the undergrads were doing the same thing. Well, not exactly I don't belong here, but something along the lines of he's a joke and oh, okay, I'm a joke. Yeah, again, I really tried to fail all of those kids. But before that, I only had a few instances where I had to actually talk to Renee Link about, and let's call it an altercation with one of my students, even though the word altercation has somewhat of a negative connotation usually, but I don't really mean it in that way. Boy, Renee Link. Now that is another person that I do not like talking to for extended periods of time. Apart from the insincere speech, I don't like the fact that she tries to play it off like the students here are stupid. Now, granted, some of you motherfuckers really, really do a good job of making me think that she's actually right, but I honestly don't believe that things are the way she says they are. So every once in a while she tells the story about how one of her friends in the math department who teaches calculus had a problem where everyone got it wrong. And the reason why they got it wrong is because the problem was similar to a previous problem, at least in terms of word use. And by that I mean both were word problems that included rockets. So conceptually they were supposed to be different, right? But all this, from what I've been told, all the students solved that second question in the way of the first, and all got it wrong because they were totally different problems. And she tries to make it seem like it was the student's fault. And, I don't think it was, because I figure if everyone gets a question wrong, it's the teacher's fault. Obviously, the teacher's not doing their job. Obviously, they're learning to follow a list of steps instead of actually learning calculus. But yet she's trying to pass it off like these kids are fucking stupid. And I wouldn't say that they're not. At least not all of them. But, I just don't like the way that she tries to, show students in a certain light. Show the students here in a certain light. With regards to classes, is kind of the same thing that I had from the previous semester, at least with regards to Mech 2. So during the Mech 2, there was an exam, right? I think there was one midterm and one final, something like that. And I get my score back and it's like crazy low. I got a 38%. And the highest score was like an 83. But nobody knows who got the highest score was. And I also noticed that I got the same score as that other kid from U of I. It's a very curious occurrence because okay, so I'm not trying to be cocky, but in terms of knowledge about the stuff that goes on in the classes here, I know I'm better than this kid. I'm not trying to put him down, but I've prepared for this more than he did. So if we ever get the same score on a test, it's kind of like a what the fuck moment because I kind of just expect myself to be heads and shoulders above him, at least in terms of test scores. Excuse me, I'm gonna go get water. Okay, dry throat. And I remember, the day before, not the day before, but right before they gave the test back, Pam, who was the TA for Mech 2, was talking to Jarbo. And they're talking about my test right in front of me. And I remember Pam saying he knows he didn't get this low. And then Jarbo saying, well, make him talk to me about it. And, here's the thing. If you screw me over on purpose to make me think I got a lower score than what I actually did, my first thought is not going to be to talk to you about it because, as far as I'm concerned, you did it on purpose. And overhearing that portion of the conversation really cemented that thought. So after that, I pretty much was like, fuck it. I don't need to be, top of the class. I just need to get a B or better. Just so I can just, finish my 7 classes and just be through. But now, back to research. So, as I've said before, I know I'm jumping around a lot, and it's because I'm pretty much just going off the top, and my thoughts aren't exactly organized in my head. So please just stay with me. So back to research. I'm basically just failing at it, not even caring. I got to the point where I was so down to the dumps that it was really just hard for me to get out of bed. And it was, when I did get to work, it was hard for me to actually be motivated to set up experiments and do what I knew I needed to do in order to get the result that I needed to get. Like, I was so down in the dumps that I ended up watching pornography, like, in lab in order to make me feel better. See, you can judge me all you want, but, like, it helped me forget what I was going through at the time. You see, some people drink, they go binge drinking and kill their liver and kidneys and whatnot, and some people smoke and whatnot, but I just watch pornography. It doesn't destroy my body, it doesn't harm anyone or anything. It just has a little bit of a stigma in society because, well, I'm not entirely sure. It just includes acts that people everywhere do, as far as I'm concerned, so it should be alright. Well, probably not safe for work. It's probably not good to do it at work, but, like, at that point, I just do not care. Like, I honestly thought they were just going to kick me out and make someone new, like, repeat all the experiments that I did because they just thought it was a shit chemist. And going back to that email that Blum sent, that dismissal email, I have a feeling that some of you are thinking, why didn't you not just switch over to a different group? Well, the thing is, I honestly didn't believe anyone on this faculty really cared. Like, I honestly didn't believe that any of these professors actually, like, took an interest in my future or my well-being. And this is because, there was an instance during a lecture, we invite professors from other schools to talk, where it's like minutes before the lecture is actually going to start, and I'm sitting in the back, and Blum is talking to a couple other professors. And she's talking about how she had, like, butyl alcohol put in my allylic alcohol sample, and that I would never figure out what happened, and how I would never get my desired product claim, which was the allylic acid. You see, I was doing a transesterification reaction with allylic alcohol and the methyl ester, and you're supposed to get the allylic alcohol out. But what she doesn't know is I had already figured it out. Like I analyzed the mixture of products using COSY and GCMS, and I saw the mass spec of the butyl ester along with its signature in the COSY. So I saw a 4-carbon spin system, where one of the carbons was directly bound to the carboxylic oxygen. So that would imply that the butyl ester was in a sample. And sometime later, my boss brings that up and asked me if I ever figured out what was going wrong. And I told her it's because I had a mixture of the propyl, the aloe, and the butyl ester. Stunned was the look on her face. She asked me again. I told her the same answer. She asked me again, and I start getting annoyed, and she can hear it in my voice. And then when I answered the question in the annoyed tone, she gets upset and, like, tells me I need to have a higher level of respect when we're talking to each other, and then storms away. I honestly don't know how I get myself in these situations. And far as I'm concerned, I honestly don't think you really have, like, yeah, that just boggles my mind. Like, I give her the reasons why I believe what I believe, and she doesn't accept them. She doesn't even ask for evidence. She didn't ask to see the spectra or anything. She completely lost me. I honestly don't think it's right to treat her with the respect that a revered and honorable professor who is supposed to teach the next generation of scientists to become scientists. Okay, wait, let's start that over because I think I lost my train of thought. I'm doing too many things at once in my mind. So I don't think she should be treated like a honorable professor of chemistry that should be expected, that is like developing the next generation of scientists when she doesn't do that. Like, she basically just created an environment where it's okay to turn off my nitrogen line if I'm working with a oxygen sensitive, if I'm doing a oxygen sensitive reaction, or she created an environment where it's okay to leave my homework, well, like, put my homework behind a water cooler and force me to do it 15 minutes before the homework assignment is actually due. And I know I didn't talk about this before, but during the fall semester quarter, I don't know why I keep on saying that, I was rotating through the Blum lab, and there was spec homework due. And I'm looking through the spec homework, and then I leave my desk, and then I come back, and then I notice my spec homework is gone. At least one of the packets of the spec homework. There were multiple packets that we needed to turn in. So I reprint out the packet, and I do the homework again 15 minutes before it was due. I turn it in, and I walk out with Darius Facey, who was also rotating to the Blum group. And we discuss homework, and somewhere along the lines, as we're walking away from the classroom, he mentions, "I heard you didn't turn in," and then his voice kind of just trails off. Which leads me to believe that he's the one who actually took my homework assignment, and he doesn't know that I actually reprinted out the paperwork and redid it just to turn it in later. And I did find it later behind the water cooler. Yeah. Well, anyway, my boss created an environment where it's okay to stick butyl alcohol in my allylic alcohol sample, and that you can't just do a distillation because their boiling points are too close. So I basically just had to buy a new bottle of allylic alcohol, which is a waste of money. I mean, it's not a waste of my money, so I can't honestly say that I care too much. But, I just think that torturing me is just not an efficient use of anyone's time, especially when you don't have a reason to. And she also helps create an environment where it's okay to make me feel unwanted. So those are 4 things that she did that ultimately led to her losing me and me losing respect for her as a professor. Because I honestly don't think she's interested in helping me develop as a scientist. Like, there were some instances later on that made her seem like she was trying, but it kind of just seemed like a front. Like, she didn't want to do it, but, she did it because she wanted to keep appearances up or whatever. At least that's what it seemed like. After, all that happened, I pretty much did nothing. I know I said that before, and I know I'm a broken record, at least sounding like a broken record right now, but I was pretty much done. I was waiting on them to kick me out. I basically slacked off for like the next 8 months, waiting on it to happen. And you know, she's sending me emails about how I'm probably just not gonna graduate. I'm like, okay, cool. This is your master plan anyway, right? So let's make this happen. And then I realized later on that these people are not gonna kick me out. They're just gonna keep on torturing me until I say fuck it and quit. But I realized that if I stayed, I could buy myself time. I could save up some money, and I could, put that down towards tuition at another school. But, I guess one of the things that did go was that I finished all my classes earlier. First grad student to do that at UCI's history, which is, it's cool. During the spring semester, I didn't really do much of anything except for research. Well, at least failed at research, at least. I half-assed all of it, even through the summer. Like, she would, in order to help me get focused, she even tried to call in Katrina Roth after she graduated. But I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. Things didn't start getting better until, she went off to Germany. After I stopped having to deal with her every week and every day, I actually saw that I was making more research progress. And things were typically going better.